Yo, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Minecraft and Stories here. My name's AJ and I read stories sent in by you guys, whether that be scary, creepy, Skinwalker encounters, or just things that you don't know how to explain. Feel free to leave comments below. Thanks for all the support on the last video. Now, you gonna need your snacks, your blanket, and your juice for this one, cause it's gonna get spoopy. Today I have 4 stories. First story comes from user FireClawsItWould, and he says, I don't have any kind of video chat or anything, nor do I have Skype, but I do want to share this story. My grandmother on my mother's side has always been superstitious. For lack of a better word, she's not religious, but she does believe in a lot of paranormal stuff. Her mother was full-blooded Navajo, her father was Irish. Either way, she'd never been anywhere east of Montana, and she grew up in Nevada. One year when I was in grade school, we went to visit her. Most of the visit was pretty uneventful, typical, boring old people stuff, except she always kept her curtains drawn shut, always, and would always peek out the window when somebody asked what she was doing. She would simply reply, "You know, Lucio is watching me." This went on for nearly the entire visit until a few days before we were due to leave. My grandma and my then baby brother, he's 19 now, we were in the front yard that evening, planting flowers, when all of a sudden my grandmother starts shouting, "Get away from that creature! Get away! Come here! It's not safe!" Of course, being in Nevada, we all assumed that my brother had found a scorpion or a rattlesnake or something along the lines of that. So we all run outside to see my grandmother clutching my little brother and shaking in terror. Against the side of the house, standing out in the yard, was a large, black, Great Dane-sized dog. It was staring at my grandmother with such intensity I've never seen before. I've never seen a dog stand up on 2 legs like that. It looked up and gave us a little huff, and then just bounded off. I don't remember if it moved unusually fast or not, but I do remember it had really deep human eyes. When my mother asked my grandma what had happened, she kept repeating, "The Andalusia has found me." She moved a couple weeks after that. Whoa. Okay, first story, we are coming in hot. That shit is creepy. I don't even like dogs as it is. I just don't like dogs because they're so slobbery and they could just attack you at any moment. What do you guys think? The second story comes from punch_drunk_AA. And he says, so this happened about 12 years ago. My family owns a farm in the height of Indiana reservation. One winter, I was home for Christmas, taking care of the farm while my parents were away Christmas shopping. As I was home by myself, way late in the middle of the night, I hear all 4 cows freaking out. I knew it had to be wild dogs that were rampant in the area, so I throw on some boots, grab a shotgun, load it up, and head out to the field. This was the perfect scenario for a horror movie. It was cloudy, but there was a full moon, and it was breaking through the clouds just right to light up all the snow. I ran out to the middle of the field, and just in time, I see 2 dogs. They were standing up, facing each other. I think perfect 2 for 1. So I pump a shell into the chamber of my 12 gauge, and then it happened. The 2 dogs heard the rack. They both stomped. They looked over at me, and then ran away on their back legs. I immediately froze, and every ghost story about skinwalkers and all the other native legends I grew up with flew through my mind. Keep in mind, I am a white guy, and until then, these were all just boogeyman stories, and the native kids like to tell us to scare us. That night, they became real to me. I have seen some things since then. Okay, what's up with all these wolf dog skinwalker stories? This third story comes from Oron, and they write, I was home alone for the weekend when I was in high school, which was exciting for me as I never really had the house to myself, ever. I had a few people over for the Friday night and got hammered. Then the next night I was just me, home alone in my house. I had a case of beers left over and had a movie to watch, so I decided that the hangover would not keep me down. in a party just by myself and have an awesome night. I ended up getting way too drunk and felt hungry. I decided to cook me mad feed and started whipping up pasta in a drunken slur. I was singing like a maniac while I played Master Chief in the background, thinking I was top shiz. Halfway through my singing and stirring the pasta sauce, I hear a tapping sound, and some movement in the corner of my eye catches my attention. One of the metal chain ropes that used to pull the blinds up and down on the glass doors was just moving and hitting the glass door, making a tapping sound. I froze as I watched it moving back up and forth and down by itself. Then my focus kind of zoomed out as I realized that was not the only metal blind ropes that were moving. We have around 7 sets of blinds on the glass door. All 7 of the ropes were moving back and forth. My hair stood up. I walked out of the kitchen as all of them were tapping on the glass door. No windows in the house were open. They were just picking up momentum. With the tapping becoming louder and louder, and more frequently. I turned around just in time to see the DVD case of the movie I was watching slide off the TV cabinet on its own. I let out a slurred, "Fuck that," and went to bolt outside, just freaking out. On the way out, I saw the painting next to the front door. It had been moved. It was tilted. I let out a gasp. I ran out the door. I almost wet myself a little bit in the process. It was real, dude. The horror was real. This was real. Outside, I was so distraught and horrified at what had just happened. My house was haunted. There was a freaking ghost, and it was messing with me. It didn't like me. I realized that I had left the stove on and that I needed to go turn it off. But I also needed to grab my phone to call somebody and get out of there. I decided I would go to the park and try to contact a friend. So psyched myself up, ran to the house, turned the stove off, pooping myself, ran into the room, grabbed the keys, my phone, 10 beers, and headed to the park. Started just drinking again. No one picked up as everyone was wiped out from the night before. Long story short, I vaguely remember at the park before I blacked out. Then in my kitchen, crying at some point, and then blank. Then the next day, I woke up in my bed. I wondered whether it was just a dream, but I walked out and saw the pasta in the DVD case and realized that it was legit. I realized that I had to break the news to my family later that day. Our house was haunted and that we have to move. I went to Facebook, and that's when I saw status after status saying that there had been minor earthquake during that night. Needless to say, I feel like a hungover idiot, but the truth is, that was the first earthquake that I've ever experienced. We don't get earthquakes where I live, or usually not at least. Okay, wait a minute. So was it an earthquake? Dude, it was a freaking earthquake. This ain't even a spoopy one. It was getting spoopy, and then... Okay. Bro just rage baited me. This fourth story comes from Saganik. And they write, I would call it creepy more than scary, but my mom's friend had a small house and lived alone. She noticed weird things, a batch of soup depleting faster than usual, missing eggs, damp towels in the hamper when she hadn't used any, extra dishes in the dishwasher, etc. This went on for months. She thought she was just being forgetful, paranoid. One day she heard something thumping around in her attic and went to investigate. She found some makeshift living quarters, small radio, a hot plate, a sleeping bag, pillow, food, wrappers, etc. She called the cops who came to keep an eye on the place. They ended up catching a homeless man climbing a tree trying to sneak into her attic window. He had been doing this for almost a year, daily. He would wait for her to go to work, then go downstairs and help himself to the food and amenities, whatever he wanted. The funny part about this story is that they got to know each other throughout the ordeal, and the guy was actually very respectful, just down on his luck. She didn't press charges, instead just let him move in, helped him get a job, and he lived in the attic until he got back on his feet. Oh. Okay, see, me personally, if somebody's living in my attic, no, you cannot stay. What? You gotta pay me some rent. That's freaking spoopy. You using my dishes, eating my food? Now for this last story, it comes from a question that was submitted. Serious, what was your creepy, unexplainable story as a child that was confirmed by your parents to have happened? A lot of people wrote back, so I'm gonna read a couple. User Nightbear21 reads, when I was young, I apparently had a few odd interactions with animals. I would know a person had animals before we went into the house. They tended to come over to me before my parents. Mostly just little things that were probably unexplainable. But the one that sticks out to my parents, though, telling it the way they do, is we went to the new car garage to have the mark on our car. And as we pull up, the owner has a big old black Labrador laying in the middle of the lobby. The guy informs that the dog is comfortable with people. We can pet him if we want. I shake my head and say, he's sad though. My dad looks at me and asks why I think that. I reply, he lost his ball. He's sad now. Dad said the owner went pale, stared at me for a minute, and then looked at my dad and said, he has had a favorite ball for 10 years that just went missing down the sewage drain yesterday, and I couldn't get it back out. Whoa. Dude, can you read the freaking future? How did you know that? Appropriate Moose writes, I'm not 100% sure this fits because my mom confirmed it years ago, then just denied it when I asked her again a couple months ago. I don't know why, but here it is. When I was little, my dresser, it was long, pretty short though, stubby, sat against the wall with one of the ends pointed to my door. The dresser is heavy, an old wood one with all sorts of knickknacks and doodads in it, and all sorts of crap neatly arranged on top. Since it was in my bedroom, the floor was carpet. I always slept with the door closed. One night, with no explanation, the dresser tipped over, but instead of falling forward, it fell 180 degrees to the side. On the side, falling right in front of my door, all the crap spilling to the side. My mom ran to get me but couldn't open the door as it was being blocked by the dresser. Eventually, with her pushing and me pulling on the dresser, she was able to slip in and move the dresser out of my way. Nothing was damaged, not even the glass figurines I had. My dad helped put it right up the next day and we moved on. Years later, I remember the incident and I asked my mom about it, expecting to learn that it blew out of proportion and only fell forward or something like that. And no, she remembered it that night as well. However, she added one little detail that I could never forget. She thought she heard me jumping on the bed that night, and that was why she thought the dresser tipped over. I had been asleep. I have no idea where she heard that noise coming from. Okay, this has got to be the scariest one in here. Y'all hear that? Oh, nah. Nah. Your mom hearing jumping on the bed and you weren't even jumping on the bed? No, bro. I wonder, do y'all be getting scared, like in my videos? Like listening to them? I hope you guys don't, because I'm a little spooked out too. I'm reading this at 4 a.m. at night. Well, in the morning. But that was the last of the story. Thank you guys for watching. And until next time, peace.